Thank you, everybody, for putting up with the technology. Thank you, Ting, for your not boring talk. I want to say something about the Zen practice being boring. That's a tremendous gift. It's just a tremendous gift. Because we're always looking for something to pull us away from what's actually happening. You know, Ting was saying Zen is experience. Good experience, bad experience doesn't matter. Just completely attain your experience. What is this? What is happening right now? And we have all these ways of, making stories about it and just doing things so that we can't actually see what's in front of our face. We can't see the person who's suffering. We can't see the person who's happy. We have all these stories. You're in this situation, you can't possibly be happy, but the person is happy, or you're in this, you deserve the suffering you have, so I won't open myself to your suffering. That kind of thing. We do that all the time. And so when we sit there bored, and I'll tell you, when I first started practicing a very, very, very long time ago, oh my gosh, almost 50 years ago, and I would sit at the Cambridge Zen Center, and the Dharma room, it was the thing where you walked in, and then the ground sort of fell away, so when you walked to the back of the main floor, you were actually now on a second floor. It was one of those kind of buildings. And I would sit facing a window, because we sat facing the wall, which most of our practices we do, but not Sunday. And so I would sit facing a window, and it would be so boring. And I would think, I wouldn't think I could just get up and walk out the door. No, I'd think I could just break the glass and jump out, which is really stupid because, I could walk out. But that boredom was just unbearable. And that's what drew me. I knew I had to face that boredom because it was trying not to face that. The reason it was boring was because I couldn't see what was actually there. If you see what's actually there, nothing is boring. I mean, this world is amazing. Just look at the floor. And if you're home, look at something on your desk, whatever, just look at something in front of you. John can look at these beautiful baskets that he's made. He can turn around and if you really look at the shapes and the colors, it's beautiful. And maybe you don't see so well, but you can hear. And you listen to the small noises around you. And sometimes like a train will come by. I always love it when a train comes by, or a dog will bark, something like that, Or maybe you don't see or hear so well, but you can feel the fabric. You can feel your feet on the floor, if your feet are on the floor, or your butt on your chair, or your butt on your cushion. You can feel all these things. If you're outside, you can feel the wind, You can feel the temperature. It's miraculous. And it's facing that boredom that eventually it stops being boring. It's like, oh, this is where I am. This is what it is. Moment to moment, like that. So boredom is our great, great, great teacher. I encourage everyone to learn from your boredom. So thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, Liz, and then Todd.
Okay, so I was reading an old primary point that I had buried and didn't realize that
So I should explain the primary point is the magazine that our school puts out worldwide. Okay.
Yeah. And the one article was about Zen Master Sun Song, who was so it was a Dharma talk that he did, but at the very beginning he talked about how there's no good and no bad.
Yeah, good and bad have no self-nature.
It, um, yeah, I think that's what he was pointing to, but he was just saying there's nothing good and there's nothing bad. And then the talk switched to how bad it was to eat animals, and that's all the ills of the entire world because we're eating animals and how bad that is. And most of the article was about that, how bad something was. And so it seems, contradictory. And then the other things I can think of bad things that have really happened. I worked with children, and really bad things happen to some children.
Hmm.
Really, really bad things. And so it's hard for me to say, look, when you shake a baby, that's not a bad thing. That's neither good, that's not bad.
Okay,
It's like, no, that's bad.
so I'm going to interrupt you and say that bad has many meanings and good has many meanings. So I think what's happening here is you're conflating different meanings of bad. So a lot of times good and bad have to do with like and dislike. And that kind of good and bad, that is the good and bad that has no self-nature. Then we use the word bad to mean something that's harming others. So when you talk about someone shaking a baby in anger, that's that kind of bad. And it's not bad that's the problem, it's the suffering that it causes, it's the consequences of that behavior that's the problem, that's increasing suffering. So it's not, and so eating animals certainly causes suffering to the animals. By the way, I should tell you that Zen Master Song-san, he loved eggs. He loved eating eggs. But back then, people didn't know about vegans. They just knew about vegetarians. He was vegetarian, but he wasn't vegan. So increasing suffering. So when you eat animals, you're increasing the suffering of the animal world. Also, we've become aware of other problems with eating animals, health problems for humans and problems for the environment and so on and so forth. So eating animals has consequences, which is not a judgment because, I sometimes wear leather shoes because I have bad feet and sometimes I have to wear leather shoes. So sometimes people eat animals and sometimes they don't. And sometimes people are vegans and sometimes they vegetarians. And, this world is wide and I'm not, telling everybody you must be vegan, nothing like that. But it's more like you're open, you're aware of what you're doing. And so the bad that is shorthand for causes suffering, increases suffering in this world, that's what the second part of his talk was about. And the first part of his talk was about desire and aversion, like and dislike. Also, good and bad have no self-nature. Sometimes something which on the surface increases suffering can actually end up being helpful, like medical procedures. There are medical procedures that afterwards you just feel horrible. My husband, he had, aggressive mantle cell lymphoma, and he can tell you the roughly 4 years of treatment, 1 intensive year and then 3 other years, they were not fun. I don't think, you didn't say, oh boy, we're going to go get chemo today, or oh boy, I'm having this stem cell transplant. Whoa, this is great. No. So sometimes something that appears bad can be good. Sometimes that appears good can be bad, like eating too much pie. You eat too much pie, it feels really good. But then what happens to you? I had this thing for pumpkin pie when I was a kid. One time, I think it's Thanksgiving, I think I ate 6 or 7 pieces. Oh, it really tasted good. Oh, I really felt terrible afterwards, So good and bad have no self-nature. That has a very wide meaning. But there are many, many meanings of good, many, many meanings. Every word has many meanings, many associations. And we tend to get really attached to, we conflate them, we attach to the word, we conflate the meanings, and then we get confused. And this is just human beings. We do this all the time. And so, part of our practice, like with Kangan practice, part of Kangan practice is to not do that, to learn how not to do that, to learn to liberate ourselves from the constraints of language, using language a lot of the time. So thank you very much for your question. And now, Todd, you had a question.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have a microphone,
Oh,
so I'll have to repeat your question.
okay. This is like, I'm just kind of, it's occurred to me a few times here and there, and I don't know if it's that important a question, but years ago, I used to hear a teaching around about moment and moment mind.
Okay, so you heard teaching about moment mind.
Yeah, and I haven't heard people talk about that so much anymore. I haven't heard it lately.
And you haven't heard it lately?
And I don't remember anything about the teaching other than we used to talk about that.
And you don't remember the teaching about moment mind. Could I say something about moment mind?
Yes.
Yes. First of all, there is no teaching about moment mind. There is no teaching about anything. All these words that are called teaching is not like, oh, I have to write this down and memorize it. There'll be a test. At the end, when I die, I'll go before the 10 kings in Korea. You go before the 10 kings in Korean mythology, and they'll say, do you remember what moment mind means? And if I answer that wrong, I'll go to some terrible hell. It's not like that, okay? So moment mind, moment by moment, that's what actually I was not using that word, but when Ting talked about experience, so moment mind means just right now. What is this? And then I have to add that this moment is infinitely large because it takes in the entire universe. So this moment, so that means don't get caught in the past, don't get caught in the future, just right now. But this right now is very interesting because I'm speaking, the people in this room, it takes a little tiny, you can't notice a bit of time for what I'm saying to come to your ears. People in the back row, a little later than the people in the front row. People online, you're very aware when you're on Zoom. Like people on Zoom, if we were trying to say things at the same time, we couldn't do it because the process time. So Liz's moment that she's perceiving, and Charlie's moment, and John's moment, and Vera's moment, and Carol's moment are completely different. No two of them are the same. That's really interesting. And let's demonstrate it. I'm going to clap my hands, and I want you guys online to clap in rhythm with me, and we'll have a visual proof of that. Right? So moment does not mean like a thing on a time thing. It doesn't mean something that, you can set your watch by. Moment means your experience, what it is right now, whatever right now is to you. What is happening? That's what moment mind means. It means acknowledging that and not being pulled away from it. So that's moment mind, but there are no moments. Yeah, we had a coffee hour for the Heart Kelche of the online Sangha this morning, and one of the women in the small group I was in, she was a lawyer, and she is a lawyer, and they have to write reports in 6-minute increments of what they do for their job. You're a lawyer too? No, but you know that, yeah. I mean, that's insane. I mean, they don't have to stop every 6 minutes. They have like a, 40-minute meeting, and they have to write down, how many, like that, how many 6-minute increments. Of course, they round up. They don't round down. So 6 minutes would be, so 40 minutes would be 42 minutes, which is, 7 6-minute increments. So not that sense of time. That's not what moment mind means. It just means acknowledging, yeah. Okay? So thank you very much for your question. There's time for one more short question, if there is one.
I have a question.
Okay.
So what's your recommendation for home practice?
What is my recommendation for home practice? Okay, very good question, because I have an answer and it's short. So my recommendation for home practice is that there are 3 components that it has to have. And one is the 4 great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. That sets our direction. So first, 4 great vows. Second, some prostrations. Now, there's some people here in chairs. I can actually, at home, I can do 3 or 6 or 9 prostrations. It's pathetic. You don't want to see me do them. But here, what I do, and if you cannot do prostrations, you probably can do this. I do chair squats. Like that, okay? So even if it's chair squats, if you can't do chair squats, like after I had my, when my hip surgery, when I broke my hip 100 years ago, no, it was 10 years ago, all I would do, I would just do that. That's all I could do, right? But some form of prostration, and this aspect of it is very important. That's why standing bows are not so great. But this aspect is very important, because that's the aspect of submission. You're not, you're just submitting yourself openly. That's, that's built into us as primates. This is completely built in. All primates do this. So, so some form of prostrations, and maybe 3, maybe 6, maybe 9, maybe 27, maybe 108. It's great if you can do 118. I believe most days you do like 5 sets, right? 540. Whatever your knees, your back, whatever your time, whatever allows, but at least some prostrations. So you have the 4 great vows, you have some prostrations, and then sitting. And for sitting, your practice should have some focus, counting breaths, mantra, what am I, don't know, or just simply, what am I? Then there are other forms, some kind of focus that you can bring your mind back to. You should sit comfortably where you have some kind of tripod of support, either you're on a chair, or if you're on the floor, your knees and your butt are supporting you, so that could mean kneeling, straddling a cushion. It could mean sitting half lotus, full lotus, some variation. There are all these forms, Burmese, I don't even know the names of them, but something where your knees and your butt are supporting you. You're sitting straight, which I always end up doing that, but you sit straight. Your eyes are dropped slightly, so that, about a 45-degree angle. Your mudra like that, and that's very important, because that's circling your Tianqian, your Tanjin, your Hara, your energy garden is what the Chinese word means, Tianqian, and that's where your energy should be. So when your energy rises up, like you start thinking about something, or you become anxious about something, you're thinking, anxiety, whatever, or you love something, whatever it is, just bring it back to here. Just let your energy sink down to here and do your practice. So, and you do that for how long? It's up to you. But it's not like you sit down and think, oh, I think I'll get up now. You decide ahead of time, you take where is my phone? You take your little phone, you set your little alarm, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 25, maybe half hour. You set it, you put it behind you so you can't peek. And when it goes off, that's when you stop. And you do that every day. So that is my recommendation. Some people like to chant at home. It's interesting, because I do lots of chanting when I do solo retreats, but at home I never chant. So chanting is extra. Some people really like to do it. If you want to chant, Heart Sutra in English is the place to start. And then, you can branch out from there and see what you want to do. So that's my recommendation for home practice. You can do bare bones, you can do 10 minutes. Everybody has 10 minutes. Think of all the time you scroll on your phone. Everybody has 10 minutes to do some kind of practice. And it's best to do it early in the morning. It sort of sets the tone of your day. Some people, maybe you have small kids or something, looking at you. Maybe you have small kids looking at you, and it's, hard to do. But then, at some point in the day, and try to keep it a regular time. not when I feel like it, but, and time doesn't mean clock time. It means like after I brush my teeth before I shower, or after I shower before I eat breakfast, or when I come home from work before I make dinner, something like that. Some kind of schedule time where it fits in with your life, and do that every day. So thank you for your question, and thank everybody.